Should you play World of Tanks console in 2022? Let's take a look at whether or not this game is actually worth your time, considering it is a free to play game. How much is it going to cost you? Whether or not it's actually good? Are the developers good? And at the end of the day, are you going to even enjoy this game if you put time into it? So, of course, if you play the game, let me know in the comment section down below and let everyone else know exactly what you think about World of Tanks console in 2022, and we'll get right into it. Given that this is a free game, let's talk about how much will it actually cost your wallet to be able to play. Now, because it is a free game, there are a lot of microtransactions that the company relies upon, and that company is Wargaming, and they develop the game. There's going to be a whole section on the development of the game itself later on in the video, but to be honest with you, the game itself, many free-to-play games are typically usually pay to win, and that if you really want to get anywhere, you have to pay money. Now, World of Tanks console in particular is a game that somewhat is similar to that kind of trend, except that you won't just instantly be better than someone because you put in money, because ultimately you have to actually play the game. It's not like a I don't know, like a Clash of Clans where, yeah, you can just pay to upgrade everything and therefore you beat people just because you've literally got things that are better than them. It's not really like that in World of Tanks, because everything is kind of balanced towards trying to make things relevant to the tier that they're in and the tanks that you have available to you. So the first thing that I want to say is that yes, you will be able to pay to progress. Now, if you want to get to the highest tier vehicle, if you want to get a premium vehicle straight away, then you will literally have you will have sped up the amount of time that you have to invest into the game to get said item. Does that mean that you're going to be better? Does it mean that you're going to be stomping anyone? No. And often, because it is so expensive to be able to just pay to get to a tier 10 vehicle, for example, probably in the region of about £300 if you want to do that, most people will probably opt to just do it for free. And that is really what I would recommend. There are some things in the game that I think are going to really benefit most people, and that is in the form of their kind of premium time. Often, you know, you get your subscription memberships to a lot of these free games that give you bonuses, and Wargaming's is basically the system where you get extra XP, 1.5 times XP of what you would get normally. XP, experience, that's how quickly you can grind through all of the tech tree lines, which are of course the different tanks within the game. And so, yeah, I think that there are some things that are probably worth it and actually not too bad for your wallet, since you'd probably be paying about £4 per month to be able to get the 1.5 times XP that you would be able to get. So not too bad. There are some things like premium tanks that are basically a version of the tank in the game that are kind of have slightly different things attached to them. You're going to be able to do different things with them, and sometimes, yes, they can be broken and they can be overpowered comparatively to some of the tanks that are currently in the game, and therefore, you know, it's kind of a pay to win, but yeah, it's speculative, and obviously it's down to your own opinion as to what you think. But yeah, that's kind of how the game is. Do I think it's a pay-to-win entirely game? Actually, contradictory to probably the majority of the player base, I don't think that this is necessarily so much of a pay-to-win game. It's more of a pay to not be in so much pain whilst playing. I don't think that it will make you better than many people if you do pay money in the game itself. Now, probably one of the biggest topics for the video, and that is this game actually enjoyable? Now, I've put in hundreds, well, thousands of hours into this game, and to be honest with you guys, I think that there's been times where I've wanted to bash my head against a brick wall playing this game. There are definitely times when I've been super excited to actually jump onto the game and play, but for the most part, I think as an overall experience and enjoyment from the game, it is a positive one, but there are definitely times where you'll probably want to just end yourself, because there are so many times where Wargaming introduced these systems where you have to grind through terrible tanks in order to get to the one that you really want to play, and so you're really not even fussed on doing what you're currently doing, and therefore you're kind of grinding away, and it is a very grindy game itself. And so if you're interested in just literally hopping on, playing a couple games and leaving, and not like really caring that much, and you're just wanting pure like fun and enjoyment when you just jump onto the game, then World of Tanks console is probably not for you, because there are a massive learning curve, and that kind of segues into the next topic, which is the learning curve, and that is correlatory to your experience and your enjoyment within the game itself, because this game is not an easy ride. If you start this game in 2022, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage, and I don't want to kind of put a negative spin on the game itself, but it's very hard to get to grips with when you first start playing, and that's why I think a lot of people struggle with actually joining the game and sticking around, because when you play like 10 games and you're just coming bottom of the team every single time because you literally have no idea where the maps are, and that there aren't really that many good tutorial systems within the game, and you have to rely on people on YouTube and all of the various different platforms, then that is really what makes this game a little bit tedious to play. So yeah, you have to get the key thing that I can kind of showcase to you guys is that it does get better, and infinitely better than when you first start, because I can remember playing when I first started, I thought, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to actually come top in the game, I'm never going to be able to be good at this game, it feels like I'm literally just doing everything wrong. But if you literally take the time to just learn some of the core basic mechanics, over time it becomes so much more fun, and you feel like you can actually impact the game. And of course, one of my key things to this, and actually improving the best and the quickest, is that if you jump in with your mates or your friends, if you've got people that are interested in the similar sort of type of game, then this game is actually really, really good fun to jump in with, like a trio of you. You're all just starting from scratch, you're all learning the game, and of course when 3 people are making mistakes at the same time, telling each other about what you should and shouldn't do, then you're going to get better almost 3 times faster. Well, to a degree, you know. But yeah, I would 100% recommend joining in with friends. It's a fantastic game for just messing about, often when you just choose like the fun tanks, or the ones that are just a bit kind of just silly to play in, and when you play them like like that, then yeah, it can be really, really fun. And that's one of the best moments that I've probably had playing in the game. If you're playing purely solo, it can be like a little bit annoying to play, because you feel like sometimes you're relying on your teammates, and then when they don't help you out, then yeah, you can be very, very salty, and you'll see that in the player base. A lot of people are very salty, and I'm just letting you guys know that. And of course, if you've played the game, you know exactly what I mean, and if you're watching this to just see what my thoughts are, then yeah, I think overall the game is very, very interesting. But leave your comments in the comment section down below, and if you were a new player that's been joining and playing World of Tanks recently, then let me know what your experience is, because you know, it's been nearly 7 or 8 years since I've actually been a new player to World of Tanks, and the game has changed a lot since then. And of course, that is why I like making these videos and letting you guys know what it's like when you finally reach the tier at which you probably want to be, where you have a lot of the tanks, and you're kind of looking back and reflecting upon whether this game is actually good, whether it was worth the time and thousands of hours that you've invested into it. And the honest answer is, I wish I didn't spend as much money on this game as I have, because you really don't need it often, and a lot of the time you can play pretty much for free. Other than the fact that I pay for premium time, there's pretty much nothing now that I would purchase in the game if I was to spend my own money, or if I wasn't doing it for videos on YouTube, there'd pretty much be nothing that I'd pay for, because there's no point ultimately. So that's kind of my reflection on the game itself, and I want to take one big step for this video as well, and we're going to talk about the development of the game, because you know, the game could be fantastic right now, but if the developers and the development of the game is terrible, then you may only want to join for this brief period of time, and then it just goes to absolute shambles. But credit where credit is due, this game has been going around for about 8 years now. I think it's on its 8th birthday, and of course on World of Tanks PC they've been doing it for even longer, probably like 12 years or something like that. But yeah, I think that this game is actually in a very, very decent spot in terms of the development, albeit there are some terrible decisions that have been made along the way, and of course you can expect that after the game's been around for 8 years. There's always changes and updates that end up ruining people's lives, and it's the worst thing in the world, and then like 2 weeks later they realise actually that it's not so bad. But I think that there have definitely been some negative updates, don't get me wrong, there have been some terrible ones that genuinely have forced loads of players to just leave and been feeling really miffed off with the game, but other than that, overall, the development, it keeps coming. There is always new content coming out. Almost every week we have a new tank into the game, which is actually pretty decent considering, you know, there is 54 weeks in a year and there are 54 new tanks. Plus we get new tech tree lines which involve, you know, multiple tanks per one. And there's been a very, very big development with regards to modern tanks. So if you're interested in either World War II tanks or modern tanks, you've got the opportunity to play both, which isn't available to any of the other World of Tanks versions in the game or in the platforms that you can play on, PC, Blitz, etc. They're not really available. So really, really fantastic to see console actually moving forward to that sort of range of tanks and eras and stuff like that. So it's always really good. But overall, my final opinion on the game, is it worth your time? Is it worth joining the game, and should you invest any money into the game? Let's answer all three right quickly now. So, is it worth actually spending your time? I'd only spend your time if you know that you're going to enjoy it in the long run. So you've got to kind of know that it's going to be a little bit painful to begin with, but if you're okay with that and you've played multiple games where it feels a little bit grindy at the beginning, then World of Tanks is probably an absolutely fine game for you, and it'll be really, really fun once you get to the point where you feel like you can impact the game. But initially it's going to be annoying. If you don't want to go through that period, then don't play the game. The second one, is it enjoyable? Yes, I think it really, really is enjoyable for you and any friends that you may have to join up together. It's better with friends, so if you've got any of them, then make sure to reach out to them and let them know you're going to be playing this game and to jump on with you. And then the final thing, how much will it cost? Probably about £40 a year, to be honest with you, if you want to pay for just the premium time in the game, which you can get 50% off when it's Black Friday, which I always implore people to wait and actually buy it then, and therefore it only costs you something like £35 for the entire year, which is like £3 a month, and that's less than a pint a month, and you probably will play it for more than like 15 minutes, which is the time it probably takes you to down that pint. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it in terms of premium account time, but most of the other things you don't really need, and often you can pick up a lot of free stuff on the game anyway that will help you out entirely. So there we go, that is the rundown of World of Tanks console in 2022. Would I play it and start all over again? Yeah, I probably would, which it pretty much tells you that after spending thousands of hours, it is actually worth it. So there we go, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and of course, if you're new to the game, if you're an older player, then there are a ton of gameplay and tank reviews that I've done on the game, showcasing the kind of level of stuff that you can do once you reach that period of time where you feel like you can do everything. And of course, there are loads of guides and gameplays as well that will help you out along the way as well. So take a look at both of those playlists, how to get better at World of Tanks and the gameplay and tank reviews, and I hope that I'll see you there. Goodbye.